is a perfect place to begin our discussion with the guys from the Marine Layer podcast making their debut on Washington Sports Wrap tonight alongside TJ Mathewson and Lyle Goldstein. I'm Aaron Levine. There's no question this has been a maddening offseason, guys. So the million-dollar question is, how can fans out there balance that frustration, try to make their point to ownership, but still show support for these players who clearly have nothing to do with any of that and deserve our support?
I've been battling with this question all offseason. It's really a tough line to draw, but the conclusion I think I've come to is that fans, they can do what they want. I mean, it's their money, right? It's their money that they can go choose to spend the team on, and ultimately this is a game of entertainment and something that you go to get away from your everyday life of work and stress and whatever else could complicate whatever you go through on a day-to-day basis. So if you still feel the need to go out there and buy tickets and support the team because that's what you want to do, even if you're pissed about what's happened this offseason. And you should be. I think there's every reason in the world that you should be angry at that. But ultimately, it's up to you. It's up to the person to decide that.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's about right. Fans can fan however they want to.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of being a fan. And look, everybody should be frustrated. I get if you're frustrated. We've talked about it all winter. It's warranted for every single reason that's been outlined. That being said, players still deserve your support. Players still deserve that fans coming out to the park and supporting them. And I try to remember that, as frustrating as it can be from time to time, or maybe all the time throughout the offseason, fans still should go out and support the players because the players deserve the support. And with that, it's just motivation for them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mentioned the pitching staff. I mean, give our viewers a realistic timeline of how long we might be able to see, at least 4 of these 5 guys in the starting rotation, especially without having to sign them to big money contracts going forward.
I can guarantee confidently 1 more year.
Okay.
Confidently.
This year or 1 year
this upcoming season.
Yep.
1,000% yes, all 4 of them will be together. The interesting case is Logan Gilbert. I think it all comes back to him, right? Because we're talking about keeping the 4 youngest guys together, as you mentioned in the open, making less than $14 million. Gilbert's going to get the most expensive quickly. Therefore, he's the most likely to get traded. The ultimate question is, does he want to sign an extension here? I feel like he'd gotten one done by now if that was the case, right? Because that's what the Mariners want. If his price keeps going up, they can't afford him based on what they've said they're willing to pay for players. He's a $30 million pitcher right now, at least.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and the other side of this, too, is come January 1st of next year, that's when Luis Castillo's no-trade clause goes away. And we know the Mariners were talking to other teams about Castillo this offseason. So how long does he still have in Seattle? It could be the rest of that contract. It could also just be 1 more year. So I think somewhere in the 1 to 3 year range is about the right middle point for how long these guys could be together. Because they could ride this rotation through the time that they're free agents. But that being said, they could also choose to trade some of them away, bring some prospects back if they deem that they're not going to sign these guys long term.
Yeah, that window of opportunity just feels like it's closing and closing. And one reason for the frustration this past offseason, it also begs the question, without the big name free agent signings, how much pressure is there this season specifically on Julio Rodriguez to perform? I mean, you provided stats on your podcast about how much he single-handedly impacts wins and losses on this team. What are the realistic expectations for Julio this year, given that he probably didn't live up to those expectations last year?
This year 4, I think the expectation should be as high as possible. He understands at this point, look what happened the last 2 years. I was the most inconsistent I've ever been in my career. And because of that, it caused my team in good part to miss the playoffs. Outside of everything else that went wrong, all the Tommy LaStellas, the AJ Pollocks, the Mitch Garver bad year last year, all that stuff that happened. If Julio just plays like he did as a rookie, I think it's all irrelevant. It's all totally irrelevant. So Julio has to feel the pressure on himself because the organization has made it known with their checkbook that this is the guy we're sinking our dollars into. We're not going to spend on anybody else. We'll spend on you, though, and because of that, that means it's up to you to go out and have a great season this year.
Yeah, and with that, we've talked about it on our show that when Julio thrives, the team wins. His OPS is close to 900, and when he doesn't, they don't. Yeah. The offense stops and starts through Julio Rodriguez. It's just the simple fact. Now, it would have been great if they had signed a couple additional impact bats to give him some help, but how much pressure is on Julio this year? There's going to be a decent bit because that's the way the offense is set up. For this team to thrive offensively, he has to go.
Are we going to get any indication in spring training how Julio is, or is it just a matter of waiting until the regular season?
I'd love to know. I would love Julio to go out there and just tear the cover off the ball this spring training, but in reality, The first 3 weeks, the first 4 weeks of the season, I think, are that telling point, because April's have haunted him.
Absolutely. Well, and at the end of the day, a lot is riding on Julio. I mean, he is your guy for at least the next 5 seasons, and then you have that team option as well. The franchise face, you're hoping to get that elevated to superstar status when it comes to Julio Rodriguez this year.